So supports are now farming, and Maokai is a legit support. What if I told you guys that they were doing this in pro games? Am I trolling? Let's find out. What is up, ProGuides family, and welcome back to another League of Legends video. My name is Christoph, and today we're going to be running you guys through some of the new Korean builds that have hit Summoner's Rift on patch 10.9. Like always, we're going to be covering builds across all 5 roles, so make sure that you stay tuned. Also, for our question of the day, we all know that the League client is spaghetti code, but aside from that, what quality of life change would you guys like to see in League of Legends? Personally, I think it'd be kind of cool to toggle language packs. It'd be cool to change it up now and then and see what the game sounds like in other regions. I wonder if they use the same voice actor. That'd be kind of interesting. Justicia! Let me know what you guys think down below. Riot is probably watching this video, so I'm sure they're going to be taking your comments seriously. Alright guys, with that being said, let's jump right in. First up is a new Silas build. A ton of pro players and high elo solo queue players have started running this setup. It's basically the new meta in Korean solo queue, and we see players like Damwon's, Naguri, and Genji's Rascal running it. Depending on matchups, they switch between Conqueror and Arcane Comet. Arcane Comet is better for shorter trades and poking opponents, while Conqueror is good for those extended all-in fights. For runes, you're going to be taking Arcane Comet, Mana Flow Band, Transcendence, Scorch, Taste of Blood, and Ravenous Hunter. This setup provides sustain as well as some extra mana via the Mana Flow Band, Taste of Blood, and Ravenous Hunter runes. As you slowly chip away at your opponent's health bars, you eventually hit a point where you can look for an extended all-in versus them in an attempt to finish them off. The real mix-up is with items though. For the items, you're going to be building a Hextech GLP, Zonya's Hourglass, Mercury Treads, Rabadon's Deathcap, Void Staff, and a Lichbane. Players are swapping out Luden's Echo for Hextech GLP because it's cheaper, as well as the extra utility it provides. Landing Silas's E can be challenging at times, and using Hextech GLP can make the approach much easier. Alternatively, it can also be used to make lining up his Q easier as well. Silas is an incredibly powerful champion in the mid-game if he pulls ahead. By buying a cheaper item, he's able to hit his power spike more quickly, meaning that the swap of Ludens for a GLP is even more effective. Next up, let's talk about Quinn. With the buffs to Sanguine Blade, Quinn was already expected to see an influx of play. Some players are now utilizing Sanguine Blade as well as Phase Rush, sometimes together and other times taking one or the other. You can always mix it up based on your preference and also your matchups, so think carefully about when you should opt for one or both. For runes, you're going to be taking Phase Rush, Mana Flow Band, Absolute Focus, Gathering Storm, Overheal, and Alacrity. The reason you want to take Absolute Focus is for the extra burst damage when you're roaming on enemies. You'll usually do this from full health, and the extra damage can make or break a gank. You'll want to take Overheal and Alacrity because you're usually able to poke your opponents out, take control of the wave, and then slowly stack up the Overhealing shield. This build provides Quinn some extra safety and mobility. Since she also received a buff this patch, she's looking stronger as a champion overall as well. Alright, this should give some of us some PTSD actually, because seemingly out of nowhere, Soraka Top is slowly coming back. Oh my god. I might even go see a therapist just to talk about Soraka Top. While Soraka Top is a ghost of her former self, Korean solo queue players are still finding some success with her. After receiving enough compensation buffs, she's actually playable, and someone is bound to abuse that fact. For runes, you're going to be taking Summonary, Mana Flow Band, Transcendence, Scorch, Bone Plating, and Revitalize. For items, you're going to be building Ionian Boots, Athene's Unholy Grail, Redemption, Ardent Censer, Shirelia's Reverie, and Mikhail's Crucible. Not much has changed since Soraka's last appearance in the top lane. The items and runes are essentially the same as they were previously. If she starts popping off again, then I'm really sorry to all you support Soraka players out there, because she's certainly going to get nerfed. Take a look at the screen one more time, guys, as we head into the jungle. Trundle got nerfed this patch, but they weren't the biggest nerfs. The Koreans have found a new setup, and that is one that makes Trundle a much more oppressive threat against non-tank champions. They've started implementing Phase Rush into their gameplay to give Trundle that insane burst of movement speed so that they can chase down their foes and just smack them to death. Phase Rush was buffed a few patches ago for melee champions, and a quick slippery troll is definitely a more annoying one. Trundle already gains a ton of damage and attack speed from his abilities, so opting for mobility isn't a bad choice at all. For runes, you're going to be taking Phase Rush, Nimbus Cloak, Celerity, Water Walking, Bone Plating, and Revitalize. Next up, we have Spellbook Shen. The Alpha River Shen is back. Shen has hit the jungle once again as a result of some buffs a few patches ago, but his keystone choice can be pretty tricky. His go-to top lane keystone is Grasp of the Undying, but that doesn't really pan out too well if you're jungling. What players have decided to go with instead in Korea is Unsealed Spellbook. Unsealed Spellbook provides a ton of utility and some extra kill pressure during ganks, especially when you're able to load up Ignite or Exhaust. Shen's ganks can be pretty powerful. For runes, you'll be taking Unsealed Spellbook, Hextech Flash Traption, Futures Market, Cosmic Insight, Nimbus Cloak, and Celerity. Taking the Inspiration Tree for the primary tree allows you to use 3 accessory runes from there, and they're all pretty good on Shen. Hex Flash actually helps him out a ton, especially when he's looking for ganks or flanks on opponents. Futures Market is great on basically any jungler. Hitting those upgraded jungle items faster is a huge power spike, and of course, Cosmic Insight is a great way to compensate for Shen's longer cooldowns. For the items, you're going to be building a Cinder Hulk with a Stalker's Blade, Mercury Treads, Knight's Vow, Thord Mail, Titanic Hydra, and an Adaptive Helm. Alright, we actually have a Lee Sin on this list as well, and it's going to be Lee Sin with Lethality. Alright, that's no surprise, and it should come to no surprise that they're still coming up with new builds for him as well. While the first 3 items are standard with this one, players are now opting for more aggressive 4th and 5th items, or even 6th items. First off, the runes are all standard. You're going to be going Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, Coup de Grace, or maybe for all you French people, Coup de Grace, or something like that. Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight. These are all incredibly valuable runes on him, especially Magical Footwear for some free boots in Conqueror because of his incredible AD ratios. Now for his items. You're going to be starting with the standard first 3 items, which are Warrior, Black Cleaver, and Boots, usually Mercury Treads or Ninja Tabby. Just press tab and figure out what the opponents are going to build. From there, you're going to be building either an Edge of Night or Umbral Glaive, then move to a Sterix Gauge or Guardian Angel. If you want more damage, continue building lethality or armor penetration items to continue one-shotting opponents. Since this rune setup and the first 3 items are standard, you can opt into this build based on your in-game circumstances. If it's not looking like a possibility, you can always opt for a tankier Lee Sin build instead. You're not forced into this build, which makes it a much safer option. Once again, we're going to be putting those builds up for you guys one last time on the screen as we head down to the mid lane. First up for mid laners, let's talk about a crazy new build we actually saw in the LCK. Showmaker opted to build both a Luden's Echo and a Hextech Protobelt in his series versus Dragon X. What makes this build a good one is the absolutely massive 2-item power spike you hit with Zoe. We all know Zoe, she hits her abilities and then you get bursted for all of your health. When you finish Protobelt though, you gain some extra burst damage through its active. When you finish a Luden's Echo, you gain some extra burst damage through its passive. When you finish both, guess what? You hit what's possibly the biggest mid-game power spike imaginable. With Protobelt's low price point as well, you're going to be hitting your 2-item power spike much faster than many other champions. For runes, you're going to be running Unsealed Spellbook, Hextech Flash Traption, Minion Dematerializer, Time Warp Tonic, Nimbus Cloak, and Celerity. If you're not going to run Corrupting Potion, you can swap out Time Warp Tonic, but the extra sustain and trading power it provides is pretty hard to pass up. For the items, you're going to be building a Luden's Echo, Hextech Protobelt, Mercury Treads, Rabadon's Deathcap, Zhonya's Hourglass, and a Void Staff. Alright, now on to the next mid laner, we have GLP Lissandra. Yet again, we need to mention another champion building Hextech GLP. With the Lissandra buffs hitting the live server this patch, it's time that we also mention this new Lissandra build. It's nothing too crazy, just replacing Ludens with Hextech GLP like a lot of high elo mid laners are doing at the moment. Because Lissandra has pretty short range as opposed to many other mid laners, Hextech GLP is a lot stronger than Ludens for her specifically. You definitely don't want to be in a position where you're unable to catch your opponents. And Hextech GLP, well, it helps ensure Lissandra get in range to immobilize her opponents. I love problem solving. For runes, you're going to be running Electrocute, Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Mana Flow Band, and Transcendence. Electrocute increases Lissandra's burst damage, and this build usually has you rushing a Morello right after the Zhonya's buy to further increase your burst damage. You'll basically be able to one-shot squishies with this setup. Also note that it's worth taking attack speed as your offensive rune to help you farm and control waves more effectively. For items, you're going to be building a Hextech GLP, Sorcerer's Shoes, Zhonya's Hourglass, Morellonomicon, Rabadon's Deathcap, and a Void Staff. Alright guys, let's take a look at those builds one more time as we head down to the bot lane. Kicking off the bot lane is going to be Twitch. Guess what? He's also hopping on the Hail of Blades hype train. Twitch's stealthy ambush playstyle benefits heavily from the burst of attack speed of Hail of Blades. Another benefit of Hail of Blades for Twitch is that attacking quickly allows him to tag his opponents with multiple stacks of his poison, thus granting him more damage when he casts his Expunge. For runes, you're going to be taking Hail of Blades, Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Presence of Mind, and Bloodline. Surprisingly, Twitch's spells cost quite a bit of mana, and Presence of Mind, when maxed out, can be a big help for Twitch players. You'll want to run Bloodline as well, as this is a more crit-centric build. This is to maximize the burst damage you'll gain from Hail of Blades, thus you want some form of sustain, and Legend Bloodline will do just that for you. Next up for items, make sure to build an Infinity Edge, Berserker's Greaves, Runeant's Hurricane, Phantom Dancer, Lord Dominic's Regard, and a Guardian Angel. A build we saw used in the LCK recently was Ziggs Bottom. We mentioned him here and there before in various videos, but we definitely see Ziggs hit the big stage now. Specifically, we saw Dragon X's Deft one-shot T1 Teddy's Senna in their game during the LCK playoffs. Ziggs has made his comeback into the game in his role as a bot laner now. Rather than a mid laner, he's able to farm up while clearing waves repeatedly to slowly scale up. Especially against opponents who lack mobility, he's a great answer as there's nothing his opponents can do to stop him from scaling. For runes, you're going to be taking Arcane Comet, Mana Flow Band, Transcendence, Gathering Storm, Cosmic Insight, and Magical Footwear. For items, you're going to be building a Luden's Echo, Morellonomicon, Sorcerer's Shoes, Rabadon's Death Cap, Void Staff, and a Zonya's Hourglass. Morellonomicon is a great item on Ziggs because all of his abilities deal damage in an area. He's able to apply Grievous Wounds to multiple targets, making it even more effective of a purchase. Alright guys, one last time, here are all the bottom lane builds for you guys. Check them out right before we wrap it all up with supports. Volibear support is back, and this time, well, you guessed it, Omnistone Volibear. Oy, that is just, I don't even know what to say about that. Volibear wants damage, and Omnistone gives it to him. He's another champion that can use pretty much all the other keystones as well. He's able to activate all of them with ease, though most of the ones from Sorcerer Tree aren't really that useful for him. Keystones like Aftershock, Phase Rush, Press the Attack, Electrocute, and even Predator, however, are all great on him. That's a decent amount, and I would say that the odds with Omnistone aren't bad at all. God, these Korean builds are so innovative. For runes, you're going to be taking Omnistone, Hextech Flesh Traption, Futures Market, Time Warp Tonic, Nimbus Cloak, and Celerity. Hextech Flesh Traption is crucial as Volibear struggles to engage without it. He does often use his flash, but sometimes it's down. With Flash Traption, he's at least able to use it alongside Nimbus Cloak for some extra pick-making power. At the very least, he's able to hard engage through the thin walls with this combination as well. For items, you're going to be building a Pauldrons of White Rock, Boots of Mobility, Righteous Glory, Gargoyle Stoneplate, and a Zeke's Convergence. Righteous Glory will help you hard engage onto a priority target. Even without items, Volibear does a sizable amount of damage, so left unchecked, he's still able to single out squishier targets, especially when ahead. Finally, let's talk about Maokai. I personally always thought Maokai would make a great support. In the same way that the Fasting Senna setup allows a Tahm Kench to get extremely fed, you can do the same thing with Maokai. He's been seeing a ton of success in the top lane, becoming one of the strongest champions up there recently. We've also seen him become an underrated but powerful support pick. Put those two together and you get what we call a support Maokai who gets to farm. We saw this in the exact game we mentioned earlier when a Fasting Senna was allowing their Maokai support to farm up. This is an amazing mix-up option during Champion Select. Although you'd immediately expect Maokai to go top, you can instead swap him down to support. Typically, if you see a support Maokai, you wouldn't even expect him to be that tanky. That's when you give him farm in the bottom lane so he ends up being just as powerful as a solo lane Maokai. I call that a big brain move. For runes, you're going to be taking Aftershock, Demolish, Conditioning, Overgrowth, Mana Flow Band, and Transcendence. For items, you're going to be building a Sunfire Cape, Thornmail, Ninja Tabby, Spirit Visage or Spirit Visage, Deadman's Plate, and a Gargoyle Stone Plate. Also, make sure to run Summoner Teleport if you're going to be farming up as Maokai. Since he's a melee champion going into a lane that's typically overrun by ranged champions, Teleport will help you secure some farm and provide an excellent safety net in case things go south. Alright guys, check out those builds one last time as we conclude the video. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching today. I want to give a huge shout out to a lot of you guys who have been using the live classes recently. It's been an absolute pleasure interacting with all of you guys live. It's super fun. We do a ton of stuff with Pobelter, Mike Young, Zyrene, a ton of great content creators and pro players alike. If any of you guys are on the TFT or Valorant hype train right now, go check out our channels there. We can definitely help you out. Also, if you're interested in getting better at League of Legends this season, go to ProGuides and get a coach. They've been super helpful to me recently. I've been able to climb a lot, particularly in TFT, and I highly recommend them. Once you find a great coach, there's nothing better. Super nice people, and they save you a bunch of time. That's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck in your next few games, and I'll see you on the Rift.